Good morning, everybody. It's almost afternoon, I guess. I guess my clock went forward. I don't know. I don't know what it did. Um, um, Blessings on your life on today. It is another day that the Lord has made. We're gonna rejoice and be glad in it. Um, I purposed on today to take a day off. I just wanted to rest a little bit. Um, but how many know that God's yes can be louder than your no? So I'm here today. And I want to just focus a little bit on things that are going on around the world that are affecting us a little bit. I don't really have a focus per se. I know we've been talking about save from my father's house, and I know where I left off last week, and I want to continue down that pathway. I do want to do that. However, I'm not going to do that today because that takes a little time, and so we need to work through that whole piece, and we're going to do that. The message today is going to be titled. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And sometimes, things can be so clear and so focused in our face, so before us that we still miss it. And I think what happens is that we have become a culture of wanting the mail, wanting what we want to be delivered the way we want it to be delivered. And so what I found out, I've personally discovered this out, is that we um, will only receive from God when God is speaking from the fire. If God does not come to us except from the fire, if he brings something to us in a still small voice, then we discount that and say that's not God. But I'm here to tell you today that God speaks more from a still small voice than he does from Las Vegas. He's not lighting it up. It's not in the earthquake. It's not in the fire. It's not in the boom. It's not in the things that shake, that readily get your attention. It is subtle things that we take uh, we don't take notice of, and we overlook. We minimize these areas of our life, and is it God speaking very loud? The Bible says that he did not come in the fire. He did not come in the earthquake. He wasn't in all that stuff that we're gonna go to a concert and all of a sudden Michael Jackson gonna be introduced, and before he come out, you're gonna see smoke and you're gonna see, all kind of stuff on the stage, and then it's gonna give you this wow factor. No, he just sits back and he'll say something like, um, I told you to go preach or teach this morning, even though you don't want to. And even though you may have a good excuse or you feel like you have a good excuse, I want you to go before the people. I'm like, Lord, but I don't want to go before the people. I just want to rest today. I'm tired, but I want you to go before the people. Now, when God speaks, he don't say, go before the people and preach like I told you to today. I didn't hear it. My walls didn't crack, nothing like that. I didn't have nothing like that. There wasn't no footsteps in my house, nothing. It was just that you need to go do that. Now, in doing that, that does not necessarily mean that I'm doing that for you. I could be doing that just for me. And I think oftentimes we think that the distribution of our contribution should be acknowledged by others, and that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes what I'm doing right now is what God is calling me to do for me. It's to fortify me, it's to condition me. And so I don't know. I'm just saying, this is just something I'm just saying. I preference this year by saying, and I'm gonna start to answer a question that was asked of me via vis-a-vis email. Um, I preferenced this year talking about how 2022 would be. And I said that we're going to go down two paths. It's either going to be in the two and the two. And I went, y'all go back at the beginning of this year. Um, I said it's going to be the year chaos or it's going to be a year blessing. Now, we have not completed the first quarter of this year. And I'm trying to tell you, it has been extremely chaotic from my view, from my perspective, extremely chaotic. I mean to tell you that it has been topsy turvy. Things have been all over the place. Things have went awry. Conversely, for many people, they have experienced blessing. And when I say blessing, it's manifold. Manifold meaning it's at least two. It's at least two. And so you get into 2022. When we look at 2022, I don't think that we anticipated Putin to be as nuts as he is. I mean, this dude is off the chisel for Rizzo, right? He is doing some crazy stuff. So, in certain parts of the world, it has become chaotic and it is spewing over into the whole world, which is giving us a form, a shadow, a reality of chaos, although it is not in our backyard per se, it is affecting us. And so I want to, because I'm just saying, I want to bring your attention to something that I thought about. I sat around and I think, I do research and I think. So one of the things that I thought about, and I've been thinking about it for quite some time because, I'm a doctor now, right? So, doctors are supposed to be experts in certain areas. We're supposed to know a little something. And so I do research. And I also do observation. My research is empirical most of the time. And sometimes it's not, but it does not take away the efficacy of my study. And sometimes, even though it's not empirical data, it is it is substantial data nonetheless. And so through my observation, what I noticed was in this area of Ukraine. Now, where I live at, I live in a community, not directly but indirectly. Where I live in a community that's full of people from Ukraine. It's a big community of Ukrainians where I live at. And I've had some experience with people from Ukraine. And I'm just saying this because I'm just saying, Uh, and for the most part, here in America, these folks, their external visual is white. Okay, they look like white folks. Although you can look at them and you can tell that they mix with something. You don't know what this is, but you ain't pure white. Okay, but they take on the persona of a white person. And so I'm saying that to say that, because I'm just saying, I just want observation. I just want you to observe this. And so what I notice is these folks can be rude, can be nasty, rude and nasty, same family. They can be very impolite. They can be selfish. Um, they can lend themselves to areas that are not to people's liking. Not to people's liking, especially as it relates to maybe black people. Maybe I'm going somewhere. Maybe black people. And so in my journey, in my experience, what I've noticed now, because I'm going to take the high road here, and the high road is have you prayed for Ukraine? Are you praying for that situation in Russia? Are you praying for the world? Because we really need to. But I just want you to take note of some of the things that's going on, um, by way of comparison, juxtaposing one thing against the other thing. And so we see now that there is a country, a pocket, a bucket of people that are in distress. I mean, they're super distressed. But what I noticed out of all the distress and what got my attention was the fact that the black people that are over in correct in Ukraine were being treated very marginalized. Um, they were trying to escape to go back to, and y'all can, you can visit. And I'm just saying today, you can go back and you take a look at it. But I noticed they had a clip on the news where it was some folks that was my color, and they were trying to get on the train. Some was trying to get on buses and stuff like that, and to escape to get back, to safety. And they did not allow that process to go in a way that was a depiction of equality. What they did was they put black people at the back of the line. Now, this was Ukrainians that did this. Yet, this is the posture, yet we are called to pray. Yet I am to feel your pain. Hence, when you hurt, I hurt. But I'm just looking at the world that we live in the midst of all this chaos, we still have racism. Now I know because I've talked about all this when you go into my message about the horses are coming, in that it really takes the focus, it takes the polarization away from um, the things that are happening as it relates to race relations, and you get into things that are going to happen that is going to overshadow race relations. And so I get all that. So my point here is just to show you how we are in our hearts. Even when we in trouble, we still racist. Even when we in trouble, we still don't humble ourselves. When we in trouble, we still feel like we're privileged. And that is problematic to me. Yet we still see that God reigns on the just as well as he does the unjust. Yet we still see that you get up, those that are unjust and have hatred in their heart, like the Proud Boys and the KKK and all this, they still get up, and it appears as if there's blessings that is heaped upon them. And yet those that do the right thing, it can create an appearance as though they are not blessed. And every time you turn around, it is chaotic for them. It is just one bad thing after another thing. Hence is the study of uh, uh, what is the study when bad things happen to good people. Um, it's escaping my mind right now. I can't think of it. But anyway, when we look at that, it makes us question God. It makes us question, well, God, why would you allow this, and why this and why that? So when we take a page from history, history suggests to us that when you look at it from a view of equality and to make amends. See, because when I look at the situation over in Ukraine, I compare it to what has happened to African American people as it relates to slavery. And so when we look at the whole slavery dynamic, slavery now tells us that all these things were happening, yet it did not get the attention of the world. And so these people were being pillaged and they were being killed and they were being raped and they were being stripped and taken from their countries and they were being made slaves to build and to generate wealth that would not come to them, all this kind of stuff. And then, even at the end of it, reparations is nowhere to be found. In other words, to be made whole. Even to this day, what we don't look at, we can look at the Ukrainians, and I feel for them. I feel for us as a whole, because if they hurt, we all hurt. But I just wonder sometimes, why is there such a dearth? Why is there such a disparity as it relates to African American people, where we have lost the sensitivity of their existential plight? And so this is just something that I'm just, just talking, just saying, because I'm here like, um, what's the football player from? I don't know why I can't think this morning. Football player from Seattle Seahawks, and he said that he don't like to do interviews. He said, "I'm here. I'm just here so I don't get fined, right?" And so I'm here today, so I don't get fined. And so if I sound like I'm kind of all over the place, I am. I am kind of all over the place. But I'm just talking. I'm just saying. The last thing I want to mention is I just we just talking. I'm just saying about something is the area of COVID-19 and the shot, the vaccination, right? That we all have been hammered by, hammered by. I just want you to take notice of something, and if I had time, I would take you to the book of Revelations, the ninth chapter, because I've talked about this before. But I want you to notice something, and this is strange to me, because I'm just saying, um, why are they not talking about the vaccine right now? But why is there not this big flashlight, this polarization on COVID-19 and its various strains, all the stuff about COVID-19? Why is it did COVID go away? I mean, is people still being affected by COVID? Is it still in the earth today? I- If it is in the earth and it was so important that everybody get vaccinated, that everybody wear masks, that protection, that we keep our distance 6 feet apart. And I mean, it was just crazy information. It was crazy communication. I mean, on every news outlet, wherever you went, it was all about, we've got to get this world vaccinated. This is what we got to do now, because this is important, and we got to get them there, because it's the savior. It's the savior. Stay with me, because I'm just saying on today. Now, all of a sudden, it's not important. If it is important, we have downgraded it, because it's not as important as what's going on now, right? Go back to my messages, the horses are coming. And I told y'all it was going to be one thing after another. When in 2020, 2019, you had Trump was going crazy, and it was black men getting slaughtered in the street, like going to like a sheep going to the slaughterhouse. Then I told y'all that don't worry. I said, if the horses are coming, if you can't run with the footmen, how you gonna run with the horses? Right? This thing ain't about nothing. It is, but it ain't. So now it's what you have, is what it's now you bolted on. It's a conjunction. Conjunction, conjunctions are used to be attached to something else. So now we take this, which never went away, racial tension in relations, and you bolted it onto COVID-19. Okay. Now, this is what I talked about in 2019. 2020, it hit. Now, 2021, I said that it was going to heighten. It was going to get more. And I said that the year of 2020 denoted not times of when we look at in terms of years. Now we're going to look at 2020 is going forth as times of seasons. Okay. And so I talked about a season that would last for about 7 to 8 years, right? So now the conjunction now with differences, it makes a difference. You go from race relations, you go to COVID. Now we're moving from all these different variants, Omicron, the Delta, all this stuff now, which is not talked about anymore. Races are not talked about as much. Issues with the LGBTQ are not talked about as much. Issues about yourself and about how you want to be heard and be able to freely express, and the rainbows and all these different things. They're not talked about as much. Are they still there? Yes. Are they still relevant to people? Yes, they are. However, it's a war. So now the communication and what's polarized is gas prices, oil prices. How is this going to affect America? How is it going to affect Europe? How is it going to affect other people? How do you get the reins on Putin? How do you stop this mess that he's doing, this war? And we don't know what else is going to happen as a result of this war. So now you got a culmination of all this stuff that's going on. But my focus now, because I don't want to drill too deep into that, although I could, my focus now is to keep attention on something, because I'm trying to hit you to keep our attention on something that was extremely pronounced, and that is COVID, the COVID-19. From 19, they never changed it to COVID 20, COVID 21, COVID 22, but we just know what it is. Go back and listen to my messages. So when we look at all this, here's what I want you to think about, because this is strange to me. I'm just saying, this is strange to me. When you get on an airplane, y'all know that aeroplane. When you get on that aeroplane, what they tell you is you got to keep that mask on. Keep the mask on. I mean, at no time are you permitted to take the mask off unless you're eating. You got to blow your nose, something like that. Now, here's what I want to know, because if COVID, because it don't respond to you eating, it don't stop. I mean, are you saying to me that in the event that I eat something, I'm safe? Is that what you're saying to me? If you go into a restaurant, it's like, make sure that you have all this on. Except when you sit down to eat, you can take that mask off. And when you take that mask off, it's free. You're still safe, because you're in a restaurant. Even though we might spread the tables out, and they ain't even doing that now, but you should be okay. Okay. It's either you okay because of distance, or you're okay because I'm fully vaccinated. It won't one or the other. Well, I'm just trying to get you to see something. So when we look at that, does the virus stop based upon the protocols that we put in place? I won't finish this today, but I'm just trying to get you to think about something. Now, when we look at the dynamics of all this stuff, when we first started out with this, the the COVID issue and the vaccine, it was two questions. One was the efficacy of it, how effective it is if we get it. And number two is it safe? The efficacy, and is it safe? So you got these two things that we playing around with. Now, empirically, when you look at the data, of anything that has been approved by the FDA, anything that has went through, the systems and the structures that are in place now for safety protocols, safety precautions, and all that stuff that are in place. Before this happened, you could not produce a drug without it going through now a vetting process of at least just shy of 5 years. Now, y'all can check that out. Just shy. Okay. All of a sudden, there was this fast track to get us a cure, get us a fix, get us something to mitigate this issue that has hit the earth. And that is in the person now, the the atmosphere of COVID. We've got to figure out a way. But all along, historically, we go back, I don't know how many years, we have never been able to substantiate the efficacy of a vaccine in a year. But all of a sudden, we're doing it in 1 year. Now, so I came out and I said, is this a safety? Is it safe? Okay, I understand that you approved it and all this stuff, and it didn't go through all the processes that it should. So my thing is it safe? Now, I believe, this is just me, that we are on the brink. I've said things before, and you can, I mean, now we at the point to where you can go back and you can validate whether or not, I'm not claiming to be anything, but you can just go back. I've said this stuff that the Lord gives me ahead of time. And so we see it. Hence, I've talked a little bit about it already in this live, right? And so I am of the persuasion that when we look at this whole thing, what was the plan? Because we can look at it, it is not effective as they say it is. That's a lie. It's two things that happen when you look at news outlets. Either if you don't look at them, you're uninformed. If you do look at them, you're misinformed because there is an agenda. And when there's an agenda, if you're not spiritually connected, you're going to you're going to miss something. Why? Because you're looking at it from a worldview. Hence, is where I can get into Revelation, the ninth chapter. Maybe I'll touch a little bit on that. Anyway, there is an agenda that is going on because all of a sudden it's not as important. What was the purpose of it? And then what is the consequences of maybe what you thought was safe? Because we've already discovered that it's the efficacy is not there. That has been scientifically proven. The efficacy is not there. But what we don't know scientifically is whether or not what we introduce into our immune system, is it safe? Is it safe? Now, I am of the persuasion that I gave it. Now, I'm making a whatever you want to call it. I am saying from the time that they started, and it's a 24-month period. I said it before. I'm saying it again. Within 24 months, this ain't nothing that I've heard. This ain't nothing that I've heard. This is what God has shown me. Okay, within a 24-month period, you're going to start to see the effects of whether or not the vaccine was safe. You're going to start seeing the effects of it, whether or not it's safe, it was safe or not. God is concerned about a couple things. I'll talk about one. The one thing that he's concerned about is where are you putting your trust? Now, the God used he used COVID. When we first started with this whole thing, it was a separation. It was a time of isolation. It was a time of isolation because what had happened is that we had become so inundated and so insensitive. We didn't worship God anymore. We didn't recognize. We didn't even, when we went to church, church was just a club. It was just a social place. And so God, by his sovereign will and power, he allowed the enemy to create this havoc that we are experiencing today. But in doing so, he says, I want to use it as well, even though it didn't come from him, but he's going to use it. He says, I want to use it to put space. The space that he was creating for us was not distance, like so you don't catch it. It was space from all the stuff that was going on around us. And it was a time that he says, I want you to separate yourself to give way for reflection, to give way for a time. I want you to reconnect with me in a way that you've gotten away from. It's like returning to your first love. Returning to your first love. And so that's been one of the things that God has been concerned about. However, where we are right now, people still didn't get it. And this is what concerns me. Where people are at and what the government is driving is that you have to put your faith in us. We have the answers. Now, I don't have time to get into all this stuff. I've talked about it before. And it's in my lives. You got to go back. I told y'all that if you stick with me, I'll bless you. No, I'm just playing. But if you follow me, all this stuff is tracked. This is not new what I'm telling you. So when you go back, you have to understand now what is the agenda? What is the agenda? The agenda is to create an environment that the government would have people so, what I want to say, so bought into that they have all the answers, because we live in the last days. We're coming towards the end of the age. So y'all look at my recent Wednesdays. I talked about the rocks are crying, and I'm using different illustrations and diagrams to show you where we are with the timeline and all that kind of stuff. And so when we look at all this, um, there is this push for the government, which is pointing towards the Antichrist, which is pointing towards one world order to get everybody on the same page. So, how do I do that? Is the vaccine, is it the mark of the beast? This particular vaccine is not. And I can show you that in scripture. And I have showed it to you in scripture. However, it is a warm up. It is a practice field to get you to the point to once everything comes to a climax. I told y'all it's conjunction after conjunction after conjunction. So as you look at as things get worse and worse and worse, the other things that happen that was bad, they don't go away. They just, it's compounded, like compound interest. Okay. So when we get to all this, now it is a thing of confidence. I am confident in the government that the government has my answers. Hence, is what God is upset about. Because for us, especially being a body of people that walk by faith and not by sight, our trust is supposed to be in Him. But we are slowly moving into a behavior that does not look like we are children of the King, does not look like we are kingdom people. Because in our economy, in our kingdom, we live up under a different jurisdiction. That's how we live. We don't live under a worldly jurisdiction. We are in the world, but we are not of the world. Hence, then God puts in place provisions for us that's in His word that gives us protection while we're here. All right. All right. So it's so many areas that I can go in for this to speak to this. In a nutshell, um, the the shot was designed. It's not so much. If you listen to one of the rich billionaires that is not a doctor, that talks like he knows everything about how to keep the world in order, and he's just got money. And so people that's got money now, they're all of a sudden experts in politics, they're experts in health, they're expert with all the answers, all the stuff about uh, the stuff with the heat, what they call it, the stuff that's going on with the ozone and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting my mind is slipping today, but all that stuff. So they experts in all these different areas, and so God now, which made the world, everything came from Him. He's no longer a factor. So we have to understand then what is really going on. There's a clip, and I'll put it in maybe my next live that I do. I'll put it in there. There's a clip where the government, this is the government now, they are introducing, this is now. Y'all can go back, you can Google it because I forget the news outlet that I was looking at that this was showed on. But they are introducing a chip now that you can put inside of your body. All you got to do is Google the words that I'm saying, that you can put inside of your body that will alert you if you have COVID 19 or variants of COVID. It will alert you as if my body ain't going to tell me that something is wrong. Now, why would you need to give me a chip to alert me? Now, I listen, y'all go back and look at it. Go and Google it. I'll put when I find it, I'll look for it after this, and I'll put it in my thing down there, and you can take a look at this clip. Now, but my thing is, you said that this could never be done. You said that we would never come to this place where people would be injected with chips. Not only that, they talk about where the chip would be placed. They said in the hands and in the head, hands and the head. Now they would be able. It's trackable. I want y'all. I want y'all to follow what's going on. This stuff is so. I'm so frustrated with it because it's like, Lord, I'm trying to present this in so many different ways to get people to see, and it is most challenging for me because I see it real clear, but people that I'm trying to get to, they don't see it. And so, am I going to stop preaching? No, I'm not going to stop preaching. But what I'm saying is, it becomes a challenge for me to keep on talking, and people like, no, this ain't happening. It's almost like in the day of Noah. It was 8 people that got on the ark, and Noah was preaching and preaching and preaching, and it wasn't a big audience, but he preaching. He said, "It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain. It's gonna rain." He kept talking about it, right? The day that the rain came, now everybody wanted to run to a place of safety. And he was already telling them that this is going to come. What did rain denote? Rain denoted change was coming. And that's all I'm doing. I'm preaching change. I'm telling you that this is getting ready. This is going to happen. If you follow my messages, you follow my lives, you follow where I talk about the rocks are speaking. I'm into astrology now, and I'm talking about the heavens are speaking. They're proclaiming the glory of the Lord. His word, the stars now are talking about the glory of the Lord. They're talking about the coming of the Lord. I'm talking about all that. I'm using all these different elements to convince people that God is real, because people have become sour with the Bible. Let me just read this, and then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna go. Because I'm already over my time, so I might as well, just because some folks that are interested, you can go back and look at this. Others, they are not. So in Revelation, the ninth chapter, here's what it says, beginning at verse number 6. It says, "And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it." Now, remember, I talked about there is historically, there is present, and there is prophetically or future. Okay. God is always speaking in threefold. So even though it happened yesterday, yesterday was a shadow of what's happening right now. And what's happening right now is a picture of what's going to happen tomorrow. So we are getting this. When I say the horses are coming, people can go back and they say, well, yeah, when you look at historically, that happened already. It did happen, but it's not over. It's a moving target. It continues to show you what's going to happen yesterday, today, and forevermore. This is God. Now, watch this. He says they're going to seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Now, and the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. The shapes of the locusts are, when we look at it, because now this becomes multi-dimensional and we need to nuance this. It's not so much exegetical, it's eisegetical. So now it's a revelation. It's what is God saying to me. So when we look at it in terms of locusts, we look at it as a form of something that is going to be present. Don't look at it in terms of a bug. Look at it as in terms of what is the nature of it. The nature of it is to destroy. When locusts come at a certain time, seasons, whatever it is, when they come, they emerge, they come, and they come for a purpose. They come and they eat up stuff, right? They destroy. Now watch this. He says, shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. Now, the destruction of these particular locusts is going to be like the size. So now when you get into comparing it to a horse, now we start to look at the strength of it. That's why this particular word horses is injected in the scripture. Now we talk about the behavior, which is the locust, but now we talk about it's like horses. Okay, now this talks about the size and the strength. So that means now it's going to be very difficult for you to deal with. And when you look at it from a writer's perspective, and you look at back in those days, see, we didn't look at tanks and we look at helicopters and all that kind of stuff, because what John was saying and what Daniel was saying, and when Nebuchadnezzar had the dream and all that stuff, it wasn't in the technological age, but it was speaking about technology nonetheless. I've talked about it, y'all, in my lives. You got to go back. All I'm doing now is just rehearsing. I'm giving you a little something that I've already talked about. He says, "We're like unto horses prepared unto battle." I'm on the COVID. I'm still talking about COVID. And I'm telling you what this is like, what's happening, okay, what God is allowing. And I maybe have to go back and read a little bit more to connect the dots. And it says, "And of their heads were as it were crowns like gold." Now, what is that saying? That means that they are leaders. That's saying that they are leaders. When people talk about this stuff that we're dealing with right now, I promise you, talk about Wuhan over in China and all this stuff. All this stuff, there's a patent out on COVID. This was something that people already knew about. And this was something that when leaders get together that wear gold crowns, that is so many of them that they dictate how the world is supposed to go. They already sat around and said, this is what's going to happen. When y'all heard one of the doctors came out, which is not a prophet, And he already predicted, he said, this is going to happen next year. Now, how did he know what was going to happen next year unless there had already been conversations? See, when the Bible talks about this stuff is going to, did it come across? Was it, what did the water have to do with it? The water had everything to do with it because did it come from across the water? It did. And was it created in a place, a lab maybe? Yes, it was. Did it get loose and out of control? Yes, it did. And what havoc did it reap? Did it reap? A whole lot. But who initiated it? Who initiated was they were as it were crowns like gold. Now this is the locust. Now watch this. It's given a description. And their faces were as faces of men. Their faces were as, now we start off talking about locusts, then we get into horses, then we get into crowns of gold, which talks about their power, and then we get into faces. They have faces. So you mean to tell me out of all this description, what's behind this is a man? Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So I said all this stuff earlier on in this live, but now I'm giving you scripture. I wasn't even gonna get, I wasn't planning on talking, y'all. Okay, but I'm trying to help you. Watch this. Faces were as faces of men, verse number 8, and they had hair as the hair of a woman. Now, what does that mean? Hair is the as the hair of a woman, because when they come on all these news outlets, and when they come and they start to speak to you, telling you, convincing you that you need to do this, you need to do that. The reason why the scripture has it here is like hair of a woman, because what does a woman make you feel like? It's comforting. When you talk about long hair, you see the beauty of it. So it can't be nothing wrong with getting injections. It can't be. This has all got to be great. This has all got to be an answer. This is something that is going to smell good. It's going to look good. It's got long, flowy hair. It's going to wrap. It's going to wrap the beautiful arms around me and beautiful long legs and all around me and all that time. We're going to be at the kiss and hug and all that stuff. And I'm going to be seduced and you're going to make me feel better. You're going to make me feel better, make me feel better, make me feel better. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions. Now watch. Oh God, see now I want to preach. I feel like preaching now because this is my thing. So now you go from a woman that's beautiful and alluring and sweet and smell good and precious and is becoming to now it says, but these locusts now, it says that they had teeth, their teeth were as the teeth of lions. I'm telling y'all, it's an agenda, it's a trick. And what am I going to do? I'm gonna make you think that this is what this is all about. And on the back end of it, they already talking about a chip. On the back end of I got teeth like a lion. I'm gonna rip you to pieces. That's what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna look good doing it. And when I get finished, I'm gonna say, well, you knew, didn't you know? Didn't you hear what the man of God was talking about? Didn't you read your word? Didn't you seek? I mean, but you didn't want to believe God. You didn't want to get close to God. You didn't want to separate yourself from the world. So now I got you, and I'm gonna rip you apart. Watch this. I've been talking about zodiac. Now, in chapter 9, and it says in verse number 1, it says, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall. I've been talking about the stars, y'all. It ain't the zodiac. It ain't the stuff that you saying, I'm a Capricorn. And this is the nature. This is what the stars diluted. They polluted it, and it's the trick. They took what God had put in place and they said, I'm gonna trick man with it. So I'm gonna make men look at the stars and I'm gonna make him think that this is a part of me. This is my personality. And all this stuff is going to come because I'm a Libra, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Taurus, and all this different stuff, right? Watch. It says, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. What star was that? It was an angel. It was an angel. This star was an angel. And let me tell you who the star really was. It was Lucifer, that turns into Satan, which is the devil, right? Fall to earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Now, this is, when I say that, I don't mean that carte blanche, because this was not Lucifer per se, but it was a star that the Lord allowed to be used to work in a satanic way to accomplish prophecy. Okay. So he says that he was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts. So what he's saying now is, I'm going to release a spirit out of the pits of hell that's going to permeate certain men, that's going to be able to change the environment on earth. And out of it came locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. It likens them as unto scorpions to kill. Now, 51. Let me just show you this part, and I'll wrap it up. And y'all can go and look at it. My other stuff, I got it all in there. It's like ragu. I've already said it, and I made it clear, and I've said it over and over again. So I'm going to continue to say it though, because whatever. Anyway, this, and actually this right here, while I'm talking about this, it came out of the result of a question that I got via email, and they wanted to know a little bit more about COVID and the vaccine. Now, I also want to say, as it relates to that, if you have questions about anything that I'm talking about, my email, the information about my email, it's out there. If you're subscribing, or if you listen to my messages, the email is there. Put your question in the email, and I will answer it. I will either answer it via email response back to you, or I will give you a verbal answer. I couldn't answer this person via email, because y'all see where I'm at. So all I say it right now, I've already wrote a book, right? So I couldn't answer it that way. And plus, it's so deep that you can't answer it in the email. You got to go back and you got to track with me, and you've got to listen to this stuff over and over again. Last thing I'll say, in verse number 17, it says, "And thus I saw the horses in this vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone." Now, watch this. I'm going to say this and I'm done. By these three, fire, smoke, and brimstone, issued out of their mouths, there was fire, smoke, and brimstone. Now, I'm only saying that because a lot of y'all waiting for these different type of wars, and there is a biological war right now. Fire, smoke, and brimstone. Trying to help you. Okay. By these three was the third part of them killed. By these three. Now, because these guys that wear the gold crown and all this stuff, and they have already devised. The one person talks about uh, that the world needs to be reduced. The one that got all the answers. He talks about how the world needs to be reduced because we have so many people, and so we got to reduce these people. But yet he contradicts himself by talking about that you need to take the vaccine, because the vaccine will mitigate the issue of COVID. No, behind it is something that's going on with the vaccine that they're not telling you about. Hence, is where I'm at right here in this text. So by these three was the third part of men killed by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issue out of their mouths. Hear me. This is where it came from. Out of their mouths. Stop looking at this as apocalyptic. Stop looking at it as spooky. Stop looking at it as monsters and the dead, the dead, whatever that show is they got with these dead people walking around, zombies and all this. Stop looking at it as all that. It's people that are disguised as sheep. But why is it that you ascribe you look like a sheep from the front, but when you get past me, why you got a zipper on your coat? Why is that when you walk past, I see zippers on everybody? Because if I unzip it, there's a wolf in there, a sheep that is disguised, or a wolf that is disguised in sheep clothing. That's what it is, and that's what's going on. These are wolves. I ain't got time to get into all that. For verse 19, for their power is in their mouth. Just notice it. Listen to the news. I told you that if you watch it, you misinform. And if you don't watch it, you uninform. That their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Verse number 20. We're still in Revelation 9. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues. What were they killed by? Was it army? Was it an army of people? Was it military? Was it all? It don't say that here. Although there is going to be a war, a war in Euphrates, where there is going to be combat and all this stuff. We're seeing a picture and a shadow of it. What's going on right now? We're seeing that. So that's going to happen. I told you it comes in threes: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Okay, so that's going to happen. But right here, it says that um, it says for their power is in their mouth and in their tails, for for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, COVID, plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils. It's all about who you worship. It's all about who you submit to. So if you're going to submit to the government, that's a devil. And idols of gold, who had the crowns? Men telling you, trust in me, believe in me. It's pointing towards the Antichrist. It's pointing towards one world order. And I've talked about that. Mhm. Devils and idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. None of them can see, nor hear, nor walk, but God can. But none of them can't. But you gonna go after them like this is the answer. I gotta close. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorcerers, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. That's verse number 21. So here it is in a nutshell. This is what this is all about. And I need you to go back because this is a focus, right? You gotta, it's something that you gotta drive it, you gotta walk with it, you gotta let it walk and talk to you. You can't get it overnight. Okay, so it is a process. Just think about, ruminate on these things that I've said today. Remember this, men and women of God, the worst is over, the best is yet to come. Your quality of life is getting better and better and better. And because of that, you're going to live and not die and see and declare the salvation of the Lord. Until next time, this is Face to Face. Remember, God loves you and I love you too. I'll see you again on Wednesday. I wish I could take a break. I wish I could take a break. God bless.